There are moments in life when you just know someone's full of it. Not because they lied directly. No, that'd be too easy. But because everything about them feels like a performance. Every smile a mask, every wave a PR stunt, every "have a blessed day" a passive-aggressive threat. For me, that someone was Karen Masters, self-proclaimed queen of the neighborhood and, unfortunately, our HOA president. She was the kind of woman who watered her fake plants just for the optics and waved at the mailman like she was campaigning for office. I moved into Maple Ridge Estates a year ago. Quiet place, big trees, decent space between houses, overpriced garbage collection service you couldn't opt out of. Looked perfect on the outside. But beneath that freshly mulched surface, HOA tyranny. Karen was the type to issue a violation because your trash can lid wasn't symmetrical on pickup day. Once my neighbor got fined for a bird bath not meeting community aesthetic standards. I mean, it was a bird bath for birds. But I kept to myself, didn't ruffle feathers, until the flickering started. It was subtle at first, barely a blip. My kitchen lights would dim for a second around 9 p.m., then again the next day, and the next. At first I chalked it up to old wiring. It's an older house. Maybe a surge. Maybe I was being paranoid. I even called in an electrician. Poor guy checked everything, fuse box, wiring, even the grounding. Verdict? Nothing wrong on your end. Weird. Then I noticed something even weirder. Every time my lights flickered, Karen's porch light brightened. I mean that literally. Hers would glow like the North Star right as mine faded. Coincidence? Maybe once, maybe twice, but every damn night for 2 weeks? Nah. So one evening, beer in hand, irritation in heart, I decided to do a little experiment. Shut off all my lights at 8:55 p.m. and waited by the window. 9 p.m. rolls around. Nothing. Her porch light stayed normal. Next day, I left one lamp on. Flicker. Her light flared. That's when I knew. Someone was stealing my power. Now, I'm not a conspiracy nut, but I'm not an idiot either. So I went to the side of my house, flashlight in hand, and followed every inch of cable, conduit, and outlet I could see. And wouldn't you know it, there was a small gray extension cable tucked just behind the lattice, running neatly under the fence. To Karen's house. No way. I followed it, careful not to look like a creep in case anyone was watching, and saw the other end snaking up her wall into a hidden plug behind one of her potted plants. The kind of cable you'd use for Christmas lights, or maybe some sketchy DIY project. Except this wasn't Christmas and she wasn't DIYing anything but theft. Karen Masters, HOA overlord and moral enforcer, was siphoning my electricity like a rat chewing wires behind the walls. And that's when I made a decision. I wasn't going to report her. I wasn't going to confront her. I was going to bury her. Not with fists, not with words, with proof, with precision, and with a plan so elegant it'd make her wish she'd paid her own damn electric bill. Let the countdown begin. I've always believed in doing my homework. Before you go to war, you study the terrain, you learn the enemy, you find out what makes them tick, and more importantly, what makes them unravel. So I started studying Karen. Every day for a week, I watched her. Quietly, casually, like a neighbor with nothing better to do. Lawn chair, sunglasses, coffee in hand. She thought I was just enjoying the weather. In reality, I was learning her schedule with the precision of a Navy SEAL. Here's what I learned. Karen left the house every day at 10:15 a.m. sharp. Gym, I think, or maybe a Botox session. Who knows? She came back at 11:40, usually with a smoothie and a scowl. Every Tuesday and Thursday, she hosted HOA business meetings at her place, mostly an excuse to drink wine with her inner circle of Stepford wives and badmouth everyone whose fence paint wasn't Pantone approved. And most importantly, she never went into the side yard, not once. That extension cord, totally out of sight, out of mind. Perfect. Now, I'm not an electrician, but I know a guy. Actually, I know two. One's a buddy from college, now working in home surveillance, and the other's a neighbor 3 houses down who hates Karen with the passion of 1,000 HOA fines. Between the two of them, I got what I needed. A small, discreet outdoor camera pointed straight at the cord connection and a smart energy monitor that could track the usage from my circuit in real time. Within 48 hours, I had the data. Every night, Karen was pulling power. Not a little, a lot. Enough to run her porch light, her string of decorative LEDs, and based on the spike around 10 p.m., probably her outdoor jacuzzi too. Yep, Karen had been soaking in stolen electricity while citing me for unapproved mailbox ornamentation. The hypocrisy was almost poetic. But like I said, no confrontation, not yet. See, people like Karen don't crack under accusations. They thrive on drama, they gaslight, they spin. They cry about harassment and play victim like it's a full-time job. You don't argue with Karens. You let them set the stage, hand them the script, and then you let them self-destruct on cue. So I waited, kept collecting data, recorded every night of theft, compiled the footage, built a neat little file labeled Power Play, just waiting to detonate. Then fate gave me a gift. A community HOA meeting hosted at Karen's house. Public, formal, half the neighborhood would be there. She sent out invitations via the usual smug email, asking everyone to please arrive on time and park responsibly. God, I could practically hear the condescension dripping through the screen. She even added, "Let's discuss our shared responsibilities and set an example of integrity for the entire community." Oh, integrity, huh? That was my green light. I RSVP'd yes, politely. And then I spent the next 3 nights preparing the kind of presentation that would have made Steve Jobs weep. Clean, precise, devastating. No theatrics, just facts, numbers, footage, power logs, side-by-side comparisons. Even a time-stamped chart of when her jacuzzi drained my circuit like it was her personal spa line. When the day came, I dressed sharp, smiled wide, and walked into that house like I was just another tax-paying sheep ready for Karen's HOA gospel. She didn't suspect a thing. Not yet. Karen's living room looked like a showroom for sterile suburban prestige. Gray walls, neutral tones, over-sanitized smell, a massive "Live, Laugh, Love" sign above her fireplace like a war crime in typography. The HOA meetings were her Super Bowl. She wore a beige pantsuit like it was royal armor, smiled like a Botoxed sphinx, and stood at the front of the room as if she owned a zip code. "Thank you all for coming," she began, with that signature tight-lipped grin. "We're here to talk about accountability, responsibility, and our shared commitment to keeping Maple Ridge a community we can all be proud of." I sipped my coffee and nodded. She had no idea she was about to be electrocuted by truth. The meeting droned on. Landscaping violations, trash day etiquette, a heated debate over whether someone's seasonal flag was too political. Karen soaked in the authority like a tyrant on a throne. Then she asked, "Any new business?" I raised my hand. Calm, steady, no emotion. Just a slight smile, the kind that says, "Oh, I've been waiting for this." "Yeah, I have a quick item if no one minds," I said, standing slowly. "It's actually about something I've noticed in the neighborhood, involving energy use." She blinked, a flicker of concern. "Go on," she said, cautious. So I did. "I've been experiencing some strange power fluctuations at my property. Dimming, surging, unexplained usage. At first I thought it was internal wiring. I glanced at a few neighbors. Maybe some of you've noticed it too?" Heads nodded, a few murmurs. Now they were listening. "I had it checked professionally," I continued. "Turns out the problem wasn't inside my home at all." I paused. Then, with the subtlety of a sledgehammer, I pulled out my phone and tapped the screen. Behind me, I cast the screen to Karen's giant smart TV, conveniently set up for presentations. She hadn't changed the pairing code. Rookie mistake. The first slide popped up. A chart. Daily kilowatt draw. Normal versus tampered. Second slide. Photo of the extension cord running from my exterior outlet, under the fence. Third, footage. Time stamped. Karen's porch light surging as mine flickered. The jacuzzi kicking on. Fourth, my camera feed. The cord disappearing into her house. Clear as day. I didn't raise my voice. Didn't point fingers. I just looked directly at her and said, "I believe this belongs to you." Silence. You could hear the smugness evaporating off her skin. Karen's mouth opened, then shut. Her wine glass grip tightened. Her eyes scanned the room, looking for someone to jump in, a lifeline, a sympathetic eye, anything. But no one moved, because they saw it, all of it, undeniable, in their faces, broadcasted in 4K. I've been monitoring the draw for over 2 weeks, I continued. Cross-referenced usage, patterns, timestamps. I have the full report here if anyone's interested. I held up a printed packet. Oh, and yes, already backed up online in case anything mysteriously goes missing. Karen finally spoke. Sort of. That's absurd. I don't even know what that is. Of course not, I said. Electricity is such a mystery. That got a few laughs. Nervous ones, but laughs nonetheless. And then the fatal blow. I've already contacted the power company, I said casually. Turns out unauthorized siphoning is considered theft. They were very interested in this footage, especially since it's been ongoing for weeks. Karen went pale. And since you're the head of the HOA, I added, it raises some interesting questions about oversight and, basic ethical standards. Boom. The room exploded, not in sound, but in judgment. Side glances, whispers, that subtle shift of social weight when a queen bee becomes a liability. Karen tried to speak again, but the room had turned. Her reign ended in a flicker, just like my lights. After the meeting, Karen stood there like a statue, frozen, blinking, unable to compute what had just happened. Her wine sat untouched, which for her was practically a medical emergency. People started leaving, avoiding eye contact like they just witnessed someone wet themselves in church. A few gave me subtle nods. One guy even clapped me on the back and muttered, "About damn time." Karen, still rooted to the floor, finally muttered, I didn't think. That's the funny thing about getting caught. People always skip to denial or confusion. Never once do they say, "Yeah, that was me. I stole your power and soaked my ass in a jacuzzi while riding you up for a crooked mailbox." Because the truth, if spoken plainly, is far too damning. I didn't respond. I just handed her a printed copy of the full report and said, might want to get ahead of this before the power company does, or the police. Then I walked out, leaving her in her Pottery Barn purgatory. But this wasn't over, not even close. The revenge had to be more than public humiliation. Karen needed to feel what it's like to be truly powerless, in every sense. So I got to work. Because while Karen was busy trying to salvage her public image, I was stripping away everything that gave her even the illusion of control. Step 1. Cut the cord. Literally. The very next morning, I shut off my breaker, walked around to the side yard, and cut the damn extension cable in half. Clean slice. Then I dropped the severed end into a Ziploc bag, labeled it like evidence, and mailed it to her with a sticky note. Thought you might want to keep your umbilical cord. Step 2. Report. I filed an official complaint with the power company, sent them the footage, the meter logs, and a written statement. They replied in under 24 hours. Words like utility theft, civil liability, and potential criminal investigation were used. A few days later, a marked company vehicle showed up at her house. They replaced her outdoor meter, inspected every inch of her line. I watched from my porch with a fresh cup of coffee and the contentment of a man who just removed a tick from his dog. Step 3. Strip the throne. See, Karen's authority in the HOA didn't come from competence. It came from intimidation and inertia. People went along because it was easier. But after the meeting, the illusion cracked, and I wasn't about to let it reform. So I started attending every HOA gathering, polite, calm, but with a subtle undercurrent of dominance, like a wolf at a dinner party. I reminded people of the power theft scandal every time she opened her mouth, quietly, casually. Oh, I'm sure Karen means well. Remember the power thing? Wild times. Yeah, I trust her judgment, like when she rewired her morals into my outlet. Little barbs, gentle nudges, but they stuck, like tiny termites in the wood of her reputation. Within 3 weeks, a vote of no confidence was circulated, organized by yours truly. 17 signatures, more than enough. Karen was removed as HOA President in a 14-3 vote. She didn't even contest it, just stared down at her tablet like it was reading her obituary. Her replacement? A retired Navy guy named Alonzo, who had no time for petty power trips and once told me he considered HOA fines a form of domestic terrorism. Progress. Step 4. Social isolation mode. Engage. Karen's little wine circle? Disbanded. Turns out even suburban gossip queens have a line they won't cross. And utility theft is apparently right around that line. They ghosted her. No more Tuesday meetups, no more smiling brunches. She was radioactive. Her invitations stopped coming. Her porch lights stayed off. Her Christmas lights that had once outshone the damn sun, gone. Every symbol of her suburban reign, dark. Karen was finally powerless. But I wasn't finished. Not yet. Because what comes after humiliation, exposure, and isolation? Consequences. I didn't see Karen for a while after the dethroning. Her beige Lexus stayed in the driveway, curtains drawn, porch dead. If Maple Ridge Estates had a walk of shame, she was doing laps on it, indoors. But I wasn't the type to let rust settle on a good revenge, not when there was one last wire to cut. Because while Karen's social crown was gone and her access to my power permanently severed, the bill hadn't yet come due. Not the literal one, that came later. But the real price, consequences that stick, bite, and leave a scar. And here's where it got surgical. First, I sent an anonymous tip to the State Contractor Licensing Board. See, turns out Karen's son, Trevor, ran a home improvement business that was basically duct tape and YouTube tutorials. But he was using her address as his official business registration. Guess what? Pulling unlicensed electrical work off stolen power while being connected to your mother's HOA presidency? Not a good look. The tip included footage, dates, and the power draw charts with not-so-subtle mentions of potential code violations. 3 weeks later, Trevor's business license was suspended. Oops. Second, I filed a small claim suit for the energy theft. I didn't care about the money. It was less than $300 worth of electricity. But I filed anyway. Karen didn't show up in court. I won by default. She now had a court judgment against her. Public record. Permanent. Unavoidable. Third, I uploaded everything to the local neighborhood forum. Not in rage, not in malice, but as an educational warning about utility theft. Names redacted, of course, but everyone knew. People started referring to her place as the Leech House. Deliveries slowed. Kids stopped cutting across her lawn. One bold guy even suggested putting up a "No Vampires Allowed" sign during Halloween. And you know what? I never once got a thank you. No apology, no explanation. She never even acknowledged it. That's fine. She didn't need to say anything. Her silence was confirmation, the kind of quiet only shame can produce. Eventually, Karen put the house up for sale. The listing photos were from 3 years ago, back when she still had light in the windows and delusions of HOA grandeur. It sat for months, no offers. The gossip said the new board wasn't exactly rushing to sugarcoat the incident to potential buyers. But me, I stayed. Light strong, power clean. Mailbox just slightly crooked because now, no one dared send a notice. I added solar panels, installed smart lighting, even ran a discreet outdoor jacuzzi. My own power this time. I'd sit in it some nights with a beer in hand, the hum of warm water below and the soft glow of my porch above, and think. There's something beautiful about justice when it's handcrafted. Not rushed, not loud, just earned. So yeah, she stole my power. But in the end, I took everything else.